When a relationship ends and a sudden heavy silence takes over, most people naturally assume that it is finally over for good. You see the cold shoulder, the lack of contact, or perhaps you catch glimpses of them seemingly living their life, and you tell yourself they have completely moved on. But you need to understand that this way of thinking is a dangerous trap. In reality, a narcissist rarely lets go emotionally when they lose control over you. While a healthy person processes a breakup by accepting the ending and gradually detaching, a narcissist operates on an entirely different psychological wavelength. They stay deeply, intensely attached long after the physical relationship has ended. This attachment has absolutely nothing to do with love, romance, or a genuine human connection. Instead, it is a bitter psychological gripping caused by the fact that they were entirely dependent on the attention, admiration, and emotional reactions you used to feed them every single day. What keeps them hooked to your memory is the sudden, jarring loss of power, validation, and emotional access. To a narcissist, you were never an equal partner or a separate human being with your own thoughts and rights. You were a possession. You were an extension of their own ego, a tool designed to mirror their greatness and absorb their toxic baggage. When you finally decide to walk away, build a wall of silence, or stop reacting to their games, you are not just ending a relationship. You are ripping away their psychological oxygen. This creates an immediate, agonizing wound to their fragile self-esteem that they are completely unequipped to handle. Because their ego cannot process the reality of being rejected or left behind, their mind warps the situation. They simply cannot tolerate the idea that you have reclaimed your power, so that hidden humiliation rapidly transforms into a dark, bitter fixation. The ultimate irony is that your complete emotional independence is the exact fuel that intensifies their obsession. When you stop crying, stop explaining, and stop fighting back, you deny them the one thing they need to feel superior. The calmer, steadier, and genuinely happier you become in your new life, the more powerless they feel in theirs. They look at your peace and see their own ultimate failure to dominate you, and that realization drives them absolutely mad. This deep-seated panic over losing control is precisely what gives birth to the phase of stealth surveillance. One of the absolute clearest, most undeniable signs that a narcissist is still deeply obsessed with you is their constant, desperate need to monitor your life from a distance. Publicly, they will put on a massive performance. They will claim to anyone who will listen that they do not care about you, act completely cold if you happen to cross paths, or loudly brag to mutual friends about how they have moved on to bigger and better things. But it is all just an act, a flimsy smokescreen designed to save face. Beneath that arrogant exterior, their actual daily behavior exposes a completely different reality. They are driven by an exhausting, frantic compulsion to track a life and a reality that they no longer have the power to dictate. This tracking does not happen out in the open where they can be held accountable. It happens in quiet, deeply calculated, and hidden ways. They become invisible ghosts haunting your digital footprint. They are the ones sitting at their screens, refreshing your profiles and viewing your social media stories within minutes of you posting them. When direct viewing feels too risky, they alter their tactics. They will strategically hunt for information by casually interrogating mutual friends, dropping your name into conversations to see what slips out, or systematically building fake accounts just to watch your daily moves without leaving a trace. You might start noticing bizarre patterns, like them suddenly showing up at your favorite local coffee shops, gym hours, or routines, always framing it as a total coincidence. Or perhaps they will interact indirectly by dropping a random like on a photo you posted 3 years ago before quickly unliking it. You must realize that these actions are never random mistakes or moments of harmless nostalgia. They are highly deliberate psychological probes. The narcissist is throwing hooks into your environment to test the waters, desperately trying to measure whether they still occupy real estate in your mind. They want to see if their ghost can still make you anxious, angry, curious, or uncomfortable. The most critical thing to remember is that this behavior operates on an inverse scale. The more peaceful, silent, and genuinely detached you remain, the more restless, frustrated, and aggressive their stealth monitoring becomes. Your refusal to feed their ego with a reaction forces them into a state of hyperfixation where they will do just about anything to find proof that you have not forgotten them. Just when you finally begin to breathe a sigh of relief, find your footing, and genuinely start to heal, the unexpected happens. Out of nowhere, the narcissist will suddenly reappear in your life. It might be a casual text out of the blue, a fabricated emergency that requires your immediate attention, or a massive, sweeping apology that feels incredibly profound. This highly calculated behavior is known as hoovering, a notorious psychological manipulation tactic named after the vacuum cleaner because it is specifically engineered to suck you right back into the toxic chaos you worked so hard to escape. You need to understand that the timing of their return is never a coincidence. Narcissists possess an almost unexplainable radar for sensing when their former victims are finally slipping out of their grasp and building a life without them. The very second your energy shifts from longing and heartbreak to independence and peace, they feel the drop in their control. They can literally sense that they are losing their psychological influence over you, and it panics them. To break your silence, they will tailor their messages to target your deepest vulnerabilities. Their texts might sound incredibly nostalgic, deeply guilty, or intensely romantic, wrapping you in the exact words, promises, and validation they stubbornly denied you throughout the entire relationship. It is incredibly easy to fall for this, but you must not be fooled. The ultimate goal of a hoovering attempt is never genuine reconciliation or healthy change. It is pure, selfish reassurance. The narcissist does not want you back because they love you. They want proof that they still have the power to pull your strings. They want to see if they can still trigger an immediate emotional reaction out of you. And they truly do not care if that reaction is love, anger, tears, or confusion. To them, any response is a win because it confirms they still occupy prime real estate inside your mind. When you stop chasing them, go completely silent, and focus on your own life, their internal insecurity spikes to an intolerable level. Hoovering becomes their final desperate gamble to break your boundaries, smash your progress, and regain the total emotional access they crave. When the narcissist realizes that their hoovering tactics have completely failed and they can no longer control you directly, they will instantly pivot to a new strategy, which is controlling how everyone else sees you. This is the moment they launch a vicious, coordinated smear campaign. While it feels like an act of pure, unadulterated hatred, you must recognize it for what it truly is, which is a glaring sign that they are still completely obsessed with you. When healthy people experience a breakup and move on, they naturally redirect their time and energy toward their own futures, remaining completely indifferent to what their ex is doing. A narcissist, however, will actively waste hours, days, and weeks trying to tear you down. They do this because your survival, your peace, and your refusal to break under their pressure pose an existential threat to the false, perfect public image they have spent a lifetime constructing. To protect their own reputation, they will systematically twist past stories, invent toxic rumors out of thin air, and masterfully play the role of the ultimate victim to your mutual friends, coworkers, and family members. By aggressively projecting their own abusive traits, lies, and insecurities onto you, they effectively shield their incredibly fragile ego from any sense of public shame or accountability. They want to make sure they tell their version of the story first, painting you as the unstable, toxic one, so that no one will believe the truth if you ever decide to speak out. The most disturbing part of the smear campaign is that the narcissist will closely and obsessively monitor your reaction from the sidelines. They will watch like a hawk to see if the rumors are hurting you, if you are losing friends, or if you will lose your cool and desperately try to defend your character. They are craving a public blowout because your emotional distress acts as absolute proof that they still dictate your inner world. The secret to defeating this entire circus is understanding that your absolute silence is their worst nightmare. When you refuse to engage, argue, or correct the narrative, you force the narcissist to confront an unbearable, agonizing truth. They no longer have any say over your identity, your emotions, or your future. Just when you think you have finally cut all ties and built a safe distance between yourself and the past, a strange and unsettling pattern begins to emerge. You realize that their entire existence after you is defined by the void you left behind. They are not living a life. They are merely documenting their observation of yours, unable to accept that the main character has exited the stage, leaving them to perform their act for an audience that will eventually see right through them. Every attempt they make to reach out, every whisper they spread about you, and every time they show up where they do not belong serves as a testament to their own emptiness. By refusing to play your part in their script, you are effectively taking away their script entirely. You are reclaiming the narrative of your own life, one moment of peace at a time, leaving them to wander in the shadows of the person they lost control over, while you finally walk into the light of your own authentic, independent future. You might suddenly start running into your ex at your favorite local coffee shop, the gym you visit at the exact same time every week, or the grocery store right down the road from your house. You might notice them suddenly showing up at social events hosted by your acquaintances or embedding themselves into the outer edges of your friend group. To an outside observer, these moments look like completely harmless, random coincidences. You might even find yourself second-guessing reality, thinking that perhaps the world is just incredibly small, but you need to awaken to the truth. These are almost never accidental run-ins. They are highly calculated, meticulously planned, and orchestrated encounters. The narcissist is actively tracking your routines, utilizing the information they gathered about your life to deliberately place themselves right in your path. These manufactured moments are designed to act as jarring psychological reminders. The narcissist knows that by physically appearing in your line of sight, they can forcefully hijack your thoughts and instantly drag you back into the emotional headspace of the past. The underlying reality driving this behavior is that narcissists are deeply, profoundly disturbed by the idea that you can live a full, vibrant, and happy life entirely without them. The thought of your independence drives them absolutely mad. By engineering these fake coincidences, they create a high-pressure situation where they can aggressively apply emotional pressure to you while maintaining absolute, ironclad deniability. This deniability is their ultimate shield. If you lose your temper, confront them, or call them out for stalking you in public, they will instantly flip the script. They will look at you with mock surprise, laugh it off, and tell everyone around you that it was just a pure accident and that you are acting completely paranoid and crazy. You must understand that they are not engineering these moments because they genuinely miss you or want to rebuild a healthy, close relationship. They do it because they want to observe your immediate reaction. They are hunting for any visible sign that they still have power over your nervous system. They want to see if their physical presence can still make your hands shake, make you look visibly uncomfortable, trigger a wave of anger, or spark a look of deep curiosity. Even a brief flash of panic in your eyes acts as psychological fuel for them. It gives them the cheap, toxic reassurance that they are still unforgettable, and they will eagerly use your discomfort to feed their dying sense of superiority. The absolute moment you stop looking back, start focusing entirely on yourself, and truly begin to thrive, you should prepare yourself for a massive shift in the tactics used by the narcissist. This is the exact moment many people expect the narcissist to finally accept reality, lose interest, and quietly fade away into the background. But instead, the exact opposite happens. The narcissist will suddenly become incredibly loud, dramatic, and intensely reactive. They will completely abandon their quiet manipulation and switch to an aggressive strategy of weaponized success and petty retaliation. Because they can no longer reach you directly through your phone or your social circle, they will masterfully turn their personal social media platforms into a weaponized theater performance specifically designed to get a rise out of you and shatter your peace of mind. Out of absolutely nowhere, their profiles will be flooded with an overwhelming display of sudden happiness and grand achievements. They will aggressively flash a brand new romantic relationship, posting overly affectionate photos with captions meant to convince the world they have found their ultimate soulmate. They will loudly exaggerate their financial or career success, showing off new purchases, trips, or milestones with a desperate level of intensity. They will carefully curate and post specific content, inside jokes, or quotes that they know will directly trigger your personal insecurities, jealousy, and mental confusion. When you witness this exhausting, over-the-top performance, you need to realize that this dramatic behavior is the ultimate proof that you have completely won. This entire circus is not a reflection of their happiness. It is a direct reaction to your power. Your genuine healing and emotional detachment have ruthlessly stripped away the validation and supply they once relied on to survive. By moving on, you have forcefully pushed them out of the center of your universe and relegated them to irrelevance. Your quiet confidence completely shatters the fragile narrative they built to comfort themselves, the delusion that they are utterly superior, entirely unforgettable, and hold permanent emotional power over your life. Because they cannot cope with the agonizing reality of their own lack of control, they retaliate by trying to make you feel as miserable and discarded as they feel on the inside. They will aggressively test your boundaries, float provocations into the ether, and try to shatter your focus because your emotional freedom stands as a glaring daily reminder of their absolute powerlessness to affect you anymore. The moment a narcissist realizes that you have locked every front door to your life, meaning you have blocked their number, cut off direct access, and built an ironclad wall of no contact, they will not simply pack up and leave. Instead, they will immediately pivot to a more insidious tactic, orbiting your life through third parties. Because they can no longer reach you face to face or text to text, they begin using the people around you as mirrors to keep tabs on your world. They will shamelessly corner mutual friends, casual acquaintances, or even family members, casually dropping your name into conversation to spark an interrogation. They want to know absolutely everything. They will dig for details about your current dating life, ask probing questions about your career progression, and try to fish for gossip regarding your emotional state after the breakup. By doing this, they quietly transform the unsuspecting people in your social circle into flying minions, manipulated proxies whose sole purpose is to gather intelligence and report back to base. You need to understand that your total, unwavering silence creates an agonizing, torturous uncertainty that the ego of the narcissist simply cannot tolerate. They are addicted to knowing what you are thinking and feeling, and when you cut off that supply, they begin to panic. Using these social channels allows them to play a cowardly game. They get to stay completely invisible while remaining heavily present in your peripheral vision. It is a calculated way for them to keep a foot firmly wedged in your door without ever having to risk direct accountability or another face-to-face rejection from you. Furthermore, they are fully aware that the gossip they stir up will likely travel. They know that if they ask a mutual friend how you are doing, that friend will probably message you later to say that your ex was asking about you. To the narcissist, simply knowing that you might still hear their name or think about them for 5 minutes gives them a cheap, intoxicating sense of importance. To a narcissist, complete and total disconnection feels like absolute irrelevance, and irrelevance is equivalent to psychological death. To avoid feeling forgotten, they will continuously hover on the outermost edges of your life like a satellite orbiting your world through others, just to convince themselves that they still matter. When a narcissist is thoroughly obsessed with losing control over you, they will completely lose the ability to stop rewriting the past. Instead of processing the breakup like a mature individual, accepting responsibility for their toxic actions, and allowing both of you to move forward, they will do the exact opposite. They will constantly and obsessively revisit old arguments, aggressively distort undeniable facts, and meticulously paint themselves as the deeply misunderstood, mistreated, or heavily abused party in the relationship. They act as though the emotional chapter between you is still wide open and completely active, purely because they refuse to let the story close until they can twist the ending to favor themselves. They are driven by an exhausting psychological need to win the narrative at all costs. If they can manage to get a message through to you, or if they are speaking to anyone else who will listen, their script is always the same. They will confidently claim things like how it really wasn't that bad and that you are completely blowing things out of proportion, or that you completely misconstrued everything they said and did. You must realize why they do this. Your accurate, clear, and uncorrupted memory of the abuse is an active, terrifying threat to their fragile ego. If your version of reality is true, then their false image of being a perfect, flawless person is completely shattered. So, they rewrite history to protect their own sanity. They will repeat their lies so often and with such intense conviction that they actually begin to believe their own delusions. The absolute best way to handle this historical revisionism is to give them absolutely nothing. When you stubbornly refuse to argue, refuse to step in and correct their blatant lies, and completely decline to engage with their distorted version of history, their fixation actually deepens into a frenzy. Your refusal to play along, fight back, or defend your truth completely denies them the final emotional payoff and validation they are starving for. Your silence sends a deafening message that you no longer care what they believe, and that leaves them entirely powerless to control the one thing they care about most, which is your mind. When you sit back and watch these toxic patterns play out one after the other, you need to strip away all your wishful thinking and understand exactly what is happening right in front of your eyes. This is not romance. This is not heartbreak. And it is certainly not a grand display of unrequited love. It is unresolved psychological control, pure and simple. You must firmly plant this truth in your mind. The narcissist does not miss you. They do not wake up in the middle of the night missing your laugh, your smile, or the unique bond you shared. What they actually miss is your compliance. They miss the effortless way they used to bend your reality to suit their needs, the immediate emotional reactions you gave them whenever they pulled your strings, and the endless stream of validation you poured into their bottomless ego. Most of all, they deeply miss the absolute power they once held over your mental health and your daily mood. When they see you moving on, their frantic behavior is not a sign that you are deeply loved or that they have suddenly realized your true value. It simply means their emotional supply chain has been permanently broken, and they are experiencing a massive, desperate withdrawal from the control they no longer possess. The most beautiful, powerful shift in this entire dynamic happens entirely on your side of the fence, and it costs you absolutely nothing but your attention. The exact moment you stop overanalyzing their behavior, stop trying to decode their cryptic messages, and stop viewing their erratic actions as a sign to look back, respond, or seek closure, the entire toxic cycle completely loses its power over your life. You have to realize that true closure is a DIY project. It is never going to come from their mouth in the form of a heartfelt apology, a tearful explanation, or a sudden moment of accountability. A narcissist is fundamentally incapable of giving you the closure you deserve. Instead, your freedom comes from your own brilliant ability to see the pattern clearly, call it exactly what it is without making excuses for them, and choose absolute physical and emotional distance without harboring a single ounce of lingering emotional confusion. When you completely unplug from their matrix, you realize that their ongoing obsession is not a reflection of your worth to them. It is the sound of your own freedom finally taking root, leaving them to scream into a void that you no longer occupy.